title with two words, and both of the words are resonant. Unassisted, which is a big deal, and most important, living. It's called Ageless Homes for Later Life because many of the boomers that we've focused on plan to stay in these homes for as many years as they possibly can. Later life will change. People come, people go, people get sick, things change. But the homes that you'll see in this book are flexible enough to change along with the residents. And we like to think that this is one of the main selling points of the book, that it speaks about home as a place where you can shape your surroundings as your own life changes as you get older. So without any further ado, why don't we show you one or two of the images at the very beginning of the book. The first section that we want to focus on, and we'll do the book is divided into 6 sections. I think we're just going to look at maybe 1 or 2 projects in each of the sections to give you a flavor for what went into this book. And we'll mention also that the book involved interviews with homeowners and also with architects, 33 American architects, from all over the nation. And we've grouped them according to the pathways or the lifestyles that seem to be emerging as boomers move into old age. And the first is what we call bistro living, which means the desire to downsize, but to not give up the verve or the sophistication of life. Bistro living often involves downsizing and moving back into the city, to a loft or a townhouse. Now, believe it or not, this first project is from Des Moines, Iowa. And what you see out the window up there is the Des Moines, Iowa skyline. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? But this has been built in a gentrifying part of Des Moines. It's a green, sustainable part of Des Moines. Below this building, this was a converted loft and factory space, and it now overlooks a park where there's baseball and hiking trails. Lower left hand, you see a bicycle because there's a lot of biking, and it speaks to the idea that a lot of people who want the bistro living lifestyle want to be able to walk or ride their bicycles to work or to recreation, and so that's Gierso Loft. Caston Loft, I must say, was designed and built by my very talented colleague and friend, Whit Chapman. This is one of Whit's projects.
The one book from my office that happens to have made its way into the book. Yeah.
What we both love about Gierso Loft is that it's a place where people can live but also continue having a career. One of the, it's a man and woman, and the woman is an art dealer, and what you see in the lower right-hand corner are photos or images she sells. This is her office and her studio, so she showcases the work of photographers and artists, and she sells from home. And the rest of the place has been made into a combination of office for him and living space. You'll notice that there are stairs. And Whit and I both want to address that because people say, how can there be stairs in homes for older people? And you'll notice that many of the homes that we showcase in the book do have stairways. I'm going to turn it over to Whit to talk about this for just a minute.
Well, I think, as Jeff said, you're going to see a lot of homes with stairs. And I think it's also important to note that we are looking at 65-year-olds, approximately, and where they're not 75, they're not 80. They certainly are thinking about aging in place, and you'll see homes that have future elevator shafts. You'll see homes that have walls prepped for handrails. In this case, there actually is, and you can barely see it. There is, next to these little stairs, there's a little grab bar on the brick wall there. It's probably not ADA to code, but we had discussion with this client. Are they comfortable with stairs and open railings like the one that leads up to to her study, to her office. You know, for the moment, they want this kind of uncluttered architecture and detail.
So many of our readers expect the homes to look geriatric. And the great surprise is that these homes do not look geriatric. And Whit and I have a theory about why this is so. Boomers from the get-go have been rule breakers. When they were growing up during the 60s, they lived through a period of revolution and rule breaking. And now, even in older age and later life, they are shaping rules to meet their own needs, so that there will be homes that have grab bars in the toilet, let's say, but also stairways. So boomers are doing it their own way. This rather glitzy place is called the Hollywood, and it's located in Hollywood, California. Whit calls it a tribute to boutique hotels. It's apartment living in the center of Hollywood, California. The architect mentioned that when they built this, they had actually planned it for boomers. I was surprised, but it appears that in many large American cities, when boomers retire, at least for a time, some of them come to the center city and enjoy that freedom of having access to the central city. I doubt if people would stay in the Hollywood much longer than 5 years, but it's an example of bistro living. Our next section of the book, which gets us both very excited and optimistic, is called 3 Generations Together. And we're discovering that many boomers are trying to create compounds where they can live with children and grandchildren together. This is a new and unexpected development, but there are 3 very, very exciting projects in this section of the book. The first is Mill Valley House, which was the inspiration of grandparents who had 2 married children. They created a compound where the married children and the various grandchildren could all live together in what amounts to a green and sustainable heaven on earth. This other one was built in Vermont. It was built by boomer grandparents for a daughter who had been divorced. The project actually consists of 2 houses on land together. They were built in the spring, but the architect and the client went to this property in the dead of winter and walked on snowshoes and tried to understand what this place would look like in the snow, and went from there. But it's for a set of boomer grandparents, a divorced daughter and her 2 children, and you see the grandfather and the 2 children in the lower right.
And the landscaping is done to make it very accessible. The connection between the houses is very accessible.
And our last example is Taub Koretz Center for Jewish Life in Palo Alto, California. And what's so very interesting about the Center for the Taub Koretz Center is that the philosophy there is that 3 generations don't just have to be from a family, it can be something bigger. So Taub Koretz is open to people from 3 generations, people who are of the age of grandparents, adults, and then younger children. It's a remarkable place. It's very family-oriented. It creates a sense of community. People move there even without family, and they find themselves being welcomed. And the message is that as you move into later life, it is possible to live in a multi-generational context. As we look around the room, we see so many friends and so many people who make us very happy that we could write a book like this. So we wanted to thank you all for turning out. There are copies there if you are interested. We're happy to chat with you about the book, and enjoy this beautiful spring evening, and welcome to Barnes & Noble.